What's going on, guys? And welcome to another edition of the Bare Minimum with 4-Star Chicago Sports. We just want to say thanks to the guys who are willing to stay up and watch us tonight. For those of you maybe getting out of work late and want to wind down and want something to listen to, maybe the sound of Dustin's soothing voice or my sports takes can help you go to sleep. Dustin, how you feeling tonight?
I got sports takes too, man.
Yeah, I said mine will put you to sleep. I was
Oh, I got you.
insulting myself.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Maybe Dustin's will put you to sleep.
Yeah. Maybe I'm asleep. Yeah. Thanks for staying up with us, Chicago. I'm good, man. Just had a day of work. I'm excited to be here talking NFL and Bears with you, man. This is fun.
Yeah, the energy's a little higher tonight than last Thursday, guys. We apologize for that, but it is late. We're both early birds, so this is late for us. But yeah, man, let's dive right into it. So we did have a Thursday night football game, another
AFC
AFC
East.
rivalry. So we had the Bills and Dolphins last week, and we had the Jets and Patriots tonight. Dustin, what did you make of that game?
I mean, I made of that game that the Patriots kind of are who we thought they were against good teams. I mean, they managed to go 1-1 to start the season, which shocked me. You know, they beat the Bengals, which was obviously surprising for everybody. Took a lot of people out of eliminator leagues when you're picking them. And then they took the Seahawks to overtime last week, but they just got destroyed on both sides of the ball against that Jets team, and they can't play from behind. Once it started out where the Jets got that lead, that was that. They didn't run the ball with Ramondre Stevenson, and Jacoby Brissett just looks like a mediocre backup quarterback. So the two things that stand out to me in that game, first are Aaron Rodgers looked really freaking good. Aaron Rodgers looked like Aaron Rodgers from a few years ago. There was a lot of zip on the ball, making those crazy angled passes. Balls were placed perfectly the whole game. And the guy's 40 fucking years old. So that was just super impressive to watch. And if you see that Aaron Rodgers with this Jets team all year, then what people were picking at the beginning of the season here with the Jets taking the AFC East from the Bills, that's a likely outcome. And then I just kept wondering, when are we going to see Drake May? Because Jacoby Brissett, just like I said, he looked pedestrian, and that offense couldn't get anything going. They ended up putting him in right around the 2-minute warning, just right when the game was ending. But I thought they should have done it a little sooner. You know, Drake May had some mistakes, obviously, but there's nothing he can do in that situation. So those are two things that stood out to me. When is Drake May going to be starting for this Patriots team? And is Aaron Rodgers going to be the Aaron Rodgers we know this whole season?
Yeah, I agree with you in regards to the Patriots. This is kind of what we expected. And I think any team that plays the Bengals for the first week of the season, as long as, I don't know, as long as they have their head coach and quarterback remain, you're probably going to get a win. The Bengals kind of made a knack for doing that, losing week one. But I do believe, man, that if Ramondre Stevenson is not running the ball, they're in for a long season.
Six times he carried the ball, bro.
Anytime that guy can't get the run, like the Patriots in general can't establish a run game, they're going to lose football games, no matter who's under center, whether it be Drake May or Jacoby Brissett. They're just not a very talented football team in regards to their roster, man. They're missing so much. But
this comment from Buck is funny. I got Brees Hall on my fantasy team too, Buck. He still got me 19 points, but yeah, it would have been nice to see him run him up a little bit. Sorry, Brandon.
No, for sure, man. Yeah, so and then the Jets look good, man. I still firmly believe the Bills win that division, but I do think the Jets are a playoff team.
You know what else stood out with the Jets, man? Will McDonald for the second week in a row, double-digit sacks. The guy they drafted, I believe, 15th overall last year out of Iowa State. He was kind of a project for them last year, but he's got an opportunity this year, and the guy is dominating offensive linemen. 3 sacks last week, 2.5 sacks tonight, and he looks really good on every play he's in, man. That guy is I remember seeing him in Hard Knocks last year with the Jets, and looks like he's come a long way, man.
I believe they had 2 All-Pros on their defense last year, man. It's just a really good defense.
Well, McDonald wasn't one of them, but he might be this year. Yeah, Quinnen Williams and
his brother, right, or something.
And Mosley, I think, the linebacker.
No, I think it was a DB.
Well, Sauce Gardner.
I don't know, but
had to be Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, the Jets. I mean, I don't. Still trying to figure out if this guy's a head coach or just a defensive coordinator that they
You
call head coach. Man,
you know what I liked that I saw from Bob? I mean, Bill Simmons calls him 8 kids Bob Saleh. The guy's got a bunch of kids. How does he even focus on football? But what I
perfect
saw
scheme to
from
be a coach.
Yeah, what I saw from him tonight that I haven't seen from him in a while was just that excitement on the sideline. I remember, I'm a Niners fan watching the Niners when he was their D coordinator. He was the guy that got everybody pumped. He would be like a player on the sideline, just getting jacked up with the guys. And he started getting that a little bit tonight. And I think, you just got to be who you are if you're an NFL head coach. And I don't know if Robert Saleh has been doing that, but you like to see that excitement from him because that's who he is. That stood out to me.
Yeah, I think it's strange to say after what is it, 3 years in now, but I think the verdict's still out. He's got the tools this year to be a good football team, so he needs to be in the playoffs. If he's not, I believe that's the end
Oh
of
yeah, they're
his
done.
tenure. Yeah.
Yeah, that staff is
Um,
done if they don't make the playoffs. And I mean, they're 2-1 now, so it's a good start to the season compared to where it could be.
so I want to touch on something you said earlier. Guys, the Jets, as Dustin would say, beat the brakes off the Patriots. That wasn't a good football game. The Patriots couldn't get anything going in the run or in the pass. They couldn't defend very well. And it seems like Mayo's the identity of that team, I think, is gonna be defensive with Mayo as head coach. But I want to ask you, since you said the Patriots are kind of who we expect them to be, and the Jets kind of look the same as well, who we all expect them to be. I think there's a plethora of people that picked them as Super Bowl favorites. Do you think now that we're week three, the rust is gone, the condition, the guys got their speed underneath them. Is this when things start to level out? Because after last week, when the Ravens lost to the Raiders, the Niners lost to the Vikings, the Eagles lost to the Falcons. I mean, some pretty big upsets. I don't think people expected the Lions to lose to the Bucks. Do you think now in week three we start to see the power shift towards the teams we projected to be division winners?
I don't know. I mean, I think it takes a little more time than 3 weeks. I mean, these teams sometimes take, week 6, week 7, where you start to finally see who a team really is. And I mean, you were touching on it earlier with, how little guys are getting used in the preseason. I mean, how little practice they actually get, like contact practice these days, and that affects the way teams start these seasons. I think I think if you're a team that's well prepared and well coached, you should start to establish who you are within the first 5 weeks of a season. But we also see teams that do it, halfway through the season and go on a run and make the playoffs.
Feel like
So
the
I think
Chiefs
there's
last year.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, the Chiefs have that winning identity they can always lean on, which is a huge advantage, obviously. But when you're talking about how it's done, I mean, there's a lot of ways to skin this cat in the NFL, and we see different versions of these teams, find success. And I mean, it really just matters if you find it by November. If you do that, you can be all right. So I mean, I don't think it's time to hit the panic button for most of these teams right now. I mean, I still don't think we know much, and I think the more we pretend to know, the less we show we actually know when it comes to the NFL. Man, it's a tough game to predict. Pros and sharps this past week just got their asses kicked in these games that they picked, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles in the NFL, man.
Yeah, and it's good for football. It's good for us fans, man, to see things like the upsets we've seen so far, and not just the teams you've projected to be in the playoffs just dominating the sport
Yeah,
from
not chalk. Yeah, you like to see some new teams step up and a changing of the guard of sorts. I don't think anybody wants to see. I mean, we all pick it because it makes sense, but nobody wants to see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl again. I don't think. You'd like to see
Not unless
somebody.
you live in Kansas City.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
following that, man, I think this feels like a good segue into we have seen some unlikely teams winning some football games they shouldn't have or weren't projected to. So we're gonna do a segment here, guys. I don't know if we've done one yet on a Thursday night. We're gonna do bullshit or legit, and Dustin's gonna have some questions. We're gonna address them and see what we think about the 0-2 football teams and the 2-0 football teams after two
You got to
weeks.
really sell it, man. Legit or bullshit. Or are we going
I like
bullshit or
bullshit
legit?
or legit. Yeah,
I mean, it's a little
it's
more
got a better
passive
ring.
that way.
It's better.
But
I like
I
to
mean,
lead with the bullshit.
bullshit or legit. Yeah, that's what you get on the bare minimum on Thursday at 11:45 at night is bullshit or legit. So we're really talking with this segment 2-0 teams and 0-2 teams. This is a pivotal point that is well established of teams kind of determining their success rate for an NFL season based on these first two games. So we talk about teams finding their identity. They still got to find ways to win early on while they're still trying to find their identity. Because if you dig yourself too deep of a hole, you can't climb out of it in the NFL. And just to illustrate my point on that, since 2020, when the NFL expanded to a 14-team playoff, teams that have started out 0-2 have a 6% success rate in terms of making the playoffs. You've got 32 teams.
That is astronomically low, dude.
Yeah, you got 32 teams that have gone 0-2 since they expanded the playoffs here, and 2 of them have made the playoffs. Just 2 of those 32 teams. That's Houston last year and Cincy the year before. So it's kind of a death knell the way the numbers play out when you go 0-2 to start the season. So we really want to focus on those teams. And then 2-0, had a little tougher time finding since they expanded to the 14-team playoff, but 64% going back to 1970. That's the success rate for 2-0 teams of making the playoffs. You look at 2023, 6 of the 8 teams that started out 2-0 made the playoffs. 5 of those teams started 2-0. All 5 of them made the playoffs. So this is it's a critical point for a lot of these teams, that we're looking at that are 2-0 and 0-2. So that's what we want to focus on today. So you want to start AFC East? You want to start NFC? Where you want to look here?
Yeah, we're already in there. We might as well reside. AFC East, let's start there. So we have the Bills at 2-0, obviously. We have
Bills are 2-0, just beat the Dolphins last Thursday. Who are they playing this week? Remember?
Oh man, I think I did a parlay with James Cook. I can't remember. I can't remember who it was though. Definitely feel like I propped him, man, for sure.
Yeah, I don't got it in front of me here. All right, well, they're 2-0.
They're playing the Jaguars Monday night.
Okay, so that's interesting too because they're playing an 0-2 team that's on them.
There's two Monday night games this week. That's interesting.
All right, I thought they cut that shit out. I don't like that.
It's kind of weird to do it week 3. It's a very random week to I don't know, to double up. But yeah, they play the Jaguars. I'll take the Bills. I think that's why I probably took James Cook in a prop bet.
So are the Bills contenders in the AFC? Is that bullshit or legit? Bills are contenders in the AFC.
I think they're legit, and I think because you just said it best, man. A team takes time to establish an identity, but also just to kind of play their best football. And the Bills have a lot of new pieces, so it was important for them to win early. No, I know, guys, that in week 2 you can't say really a game is a must-win, even week 3, week 4, but you got to get a couple of wins early in the season when you're trying to establish who you're going to be. And guys, Josh Allen has proved to be the second best player in football. I truthfully believe that even with the lack of experience at receiver, they're still finding ways, and it's all behind. It all starts with and ends with Josh Allen for sure. James Cook's been a huge piece of that team since Joe Brady took over. Since Joe Brady took over, man, they look like the best team in the AFC East.
Okay. All right. I mean, they've won 4 division titles in a row in the AFC East. So, I mean, picking them as contenders it's not really like going out on a limb, I would say. The fact that they're 2-0 really suggests good things for them moving forward. I don't understand why people were so down on them. I mean, just because you're high on the Jets doesn't mean you got to be down on the Bills. As long as they got Josh Allen on that team, they are a 10-win team. He will find a way, and guys will get better around him as the season goes on. Defensively, there's concerns with the Bills, so we'll see where they end up with that. But I mean, are they contenders in the AFC? I wouldn't be surprised if they beat the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Just killed a monster spider. Thing was huge, bro. The tarantula crawling up my wall.
Exterminating. on YouTube Live.
Yeah, I think the Bills. I think the Bills raised questions last year, man, early in the season. Obviously, it looked like they weren't going to be a playoff team last year, until they fired. God, his name's going to escape me, man. The offensive coordinator, who actually was doing a fair job. They were top 10 in almost every offensive statistic. But Josh Allen was turning the ball over at a high rate, which he's done over the course of his career. And as soon as Joe Brady took that job and started to lean a little heavier on different players like James Cook, he even
So legit or
managed to.
bullshit? Let's not spend forever on the Bills. Legit or bullshit, Brandon? They're contenders in the AFC.
I'd say legit.
Legit. Very good. Now, let's just sneak in one because of the Thursday night game tonight. It's not a 2-0 team or an 0-2 team. They're now 2-1. The Jets. Are they contenders in the AFC? Legit or bullshit? Jets are contenders.
I think they're legit.
Legit, huh? Like I said, if Aaron Rodgers is playing this way all season, here I saw a crazy stat just before we popped on, man. It's kind of cool. Aaron Rodgers has 525 touchdown passes in his career. Guess how many are the first round wide receivers?
None.
One tonight to Garrett Wilson. The first touchdown pass he's thrown to Garrett Wilson since he's been in New York. They could be building on some good things there. We'll see. I don't know. I got to call it legit right now. I almost want to call it bullshit because I just can't stand the Jets, man. But I could see that they got the makings of a good team.
We don't
there.
speak through bias, man.
Yeah, Morgan Moses went out of that game tonight. So that could impact them. He's their starting right tackle, so hopefully he comes back.
I think their defense is going to be able, for the majority of the season, be able to contain good offenses, man. They'll keep them under 20 points, and as long as you got
another interesting stat. Another interesting stat about the Jets: 3+ sacks in their first 3 games for the first time since 1985. So there's something going on there, in terms of getting after the quarterback. That's when you got a solid defensive backfield back there, they're gonna generate some turnovers.
Yeah, whether or not the guy gets paid, Hassan Reddick's gonna. I firmly believe that's the guy who's still gonna go give it his best on Sundays, man.
Hassan Reddick's still not playing. He's forfeited like $10 million in his money.
Because they lost Bryce Huff. Who's the other end?
That's Will McDonald, and they had Jermaine Johnson, but he's hurt. I don't know.
I'm thinking the tackle, Quinnen
Williams, the defensive tackle. He's a beast. He's unstoppable.
All right,
we'll stay in the AFC. We'll stay in the AFC with another defensive team that I think we like. The Pittsburgh Steelers. They're 2-0. They've won some ugly games against some pretty bad teams. But they're 2-0 and they're on. That's what's up?
Sorry, you froze there for a sec. I wasn't sure if you were done. I'm gonna call them legit, man. But I'm gonna call them legit, and this is gonna be strange as it sits now. They're 2-0. I think they're a wild card team still.
I picked them at 10-7 to start the season. Now my question is: are the Steelers a threat to win the AFC North? I mean, is that legit or bullshit?
Yeah, I think every team except for Cleveland is.
Well, Cleveland's 1-1, and then we can kind of roll in. I would say it's legit. It's legit, right? That the Steelers have a chance to win the AFC North as long as Mike Tomlin's their head coach and they got a solid defense like they have. They're a legit threat to win that division every year.
Two of the best coaches in football are in that division, man. Between Harbaugh and Tomlin, you can always kind of bet those guys, man.
So we'll transition to that because Jim Harbaugh is 0-2 for the first time since 2015. It's not something he does often.
No, sorry, go ahead.
But the Bengals and the Ravens, the two teams that everyone picked to win this division going into the season. It was either the Ravens or the Bengals. I heard some random Cleveland Brown stuff in there, but they're 1-1, so we're not talking about them. Bengals, Ravens, both 0-2. Will either of those teams make the playoffs? Legit or bullshit that either the Ravens or the Bengals make the playoffs?
I think it's bullshit that both teams are 0-2. I think they're both going to be contenders at the end of the year, especially that Bengals team, man. They do this every year, it feels like, doesn't it? I mean, you just said one of the two teams since 2020 that made the playoffs starting at 0-2 was the Bengals. It seems like they do this every season. And they are still – T. Higgins has not played a game. Jamar Chase has got whatever's going on around.
T. Higgins practiced. He practiced today, so That's a big deal for them.
And they took the Chiefs to the wire, man. I expect this week the Bengals to come out strong.
Let's just keep in mind, teams that have started 0-2 since the playoffs expanded, 6% to make the playoffs. So we're talking about two teams here. You think they'll both be contenders for the playoffs come season end?
I do, yeah.
That's really playing against the odds, but we'll see. I think one of those two teams will be a playoff team. One of those two teams has to be a playoff team in the AFC, as far as I'm concerned. Both of them, I don't see it. One of them is gonna have a worse season than we expected, just based on the odds and the percentages. Man, they're bound to happen.
So, do you have the Steelers winning that division?
Like I said, I picked the Steelers to be 10-7, and I think I picked the division winner to be 11-6. I don't know. I can't bet on Justin Fields. I think it's a possibility.
That's my problem. That's my problem.
Yeah. But here, let's not forget, Russell Wilson is still there in Pittsburgh, who could step in at any moment here and
real quick,
change
man,
that offense.
While we're on this subject, I heard probably the strangest thing I've ever heard today. I'm not inside the organization, but I'm going to read a little bit into this. Russell Wilson, after last week's win, was presented with an award. And when asked why, they said, the coaching staff, Tomlin in general, said, because we think he got the short end of the straw in Denver. Now, that says two things. And then when asked, like, can you go into further detail, he said, you don't ask for the ingredients in a hot dog. I don't know what that even means, but I'm going to say this. That's the Steelers telling Russell Wilson, you just got benched because of injury, and you're getting the short end of the straw here as well. That's what I think just occurred. Why the hell do you give a
There's
player?
reports that Fields could be playing all season. That he might just have that.
Why the hell would you give a player an award that hasn't touched your field, dude?
Well, the thing about the Steelers, man, is like they have a long-running history of players not losing their jobs because of injury. And they were super, super adamant about the fact that Russell Wilson would be the starting quarterback for this team. So I think here one of two things. Either Russell Wilson is going to get that job back because he earns it in practice, or Russell Wilson is going to get an opportunity at that job at some point this season because Justin Fields is going to do Fields things, and that Steelers team can't have turnovers. That's the one thing they can't have. He's protected the ball so far, but he's prone to mistakes because of the plays he tries to make. So,
and I think it's gonna be a very short leash. I think as long as Justin Fields is winning games, he'll be in there. Possibly the first game he loses, they'll be like, Wilson's healthy. That's what I think. That's what I see for like playing out.
Well, like I was saying, they haven't really played anyone that I would call, a threat as of yet.
No, they have a good game this week against the Chargers, man.
Yeah, and the Chargers are another 2-0 team. One of those teams is going to end up 2. I'll take the Chargers in that because I'm just a big fan of Harbaugh and what he's done with this team. And we'll get to them now since we're talking about it. Chargers are 2-0. The Chargers have the best defense in football points per game wise right now. They're allowing 6 points per game. Like it's insane how good they've been. Now they played the Panthers and they played the Raiders. And everybody thought the Raiders might have been a cakewalk, but they just beat the Ravens last week. So like you said, we don't really know shit yet. Like these teams are still figuring it out. Teams that are losing one week are winning the next week, and we're still confused. But in that confusion, let's just ask the question. The Chargers are a threat to the Chiefs in the AFC West. Bullshit or legit?
I think legit, Dustin. I'm going to roll with you on this. You said it before the season started, and I think Harbaugh just creates a winning culture, and Herbert's a great quarterback for Harbaugh to adopt, dude. I mean, that's just a match made in heaven, really. So, and they're the most expensive defense in football. I just think somebody need to figure it out, So
that's what I was saying before the season started. They got players on that defense.
Yeah,
they got players.
They have 2 quality edge rushers. They've got a decent secondary. They've got a lot of money tied up in their secondary. They've got a solid middle linebacker. I think the Chargers are legit.
Yep. All right. Well, I like that. I've been on them. I've been on them this whole offseason. Definitely legit. Now, I tried to make it a tougher question by asking, are they a threat to the Chiefs? So do you see them so legit in terms of playoff potential, but winning the AFC West legit?
No, I don't think they can win the division.
That's the question.
I don't think they can win the division. I don't, because I think the Chiefs got substantially better this year. But I do think that the Chargers will beat the Chiefs in a split in the division. I think they'll beat them one of those games.
I think they're legit. I think they're the only legitimate threat to the Chiefs in the AFC West, and I think those are going to be some barn burner games, like slobber knocker, like Jim Ross, like
Yeah, I mean, you
they're
look
going to beat the hell out of each
Andy Reid versus Jim Harbaugh. It's just going to be fun, man. It's going to be
Yeah,
fun.
that's interesting. That's going to be interesting to see. Let's stick in the AFC. Let's move to the AFC South, man. This one's a little close to home for you. I know you've rooted for the Jaguars outside of your
Well, we
Bears
didn't talk,
fan.
so we can just say the Broncos aren't good. Just throw that out there.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not. I don't want. Yeah.
Sean Payton might
Here
not remain head coach of that team.
with the Broncos, I'll just ask this because in terms of poor plays, Bo Nix has led the league. He's not been good in decision making, and in terms of his play, it's been a lot of people expected him to be a system fit in that Sean Payton system and develop quickly and perform out the gates.
61 college games the guy played. I expected him to be better than he's been.
Okay, well, let's just ask the question then. Is Bo Nix bullshit or legit in terms of being an NFL quarterback? It's early, but this is why we're doing this for fun.
I don't know, man. That's a tough question to answer because the guy, I mean, he's passing like 30 times a game. I think if they could establish the run there, all young quarterbacks need a good run game, man.
I think that's the story across the NFL right now with all these.
Yeah, it is. It's the biggest thing is young quarterbacks have not really been playing for teams that have been able to establish the run, man. And
these rookie quarterbacks are coming into an NFL where all these offensive coordinators want to show how cool their passing game is and how creative their run game is without a fullback and without any power formation, and they're suffering because of it.
I think Bo Nix is a tough player. He's taken some hits trying to get to the end zone. He has rushed a touchdown, and I do believe he's got the toughness to play in the NFL. I'm going to tell you this though, man. I watched their first game against the Seahawks. When Geno Smith, when you're watching the highlights and Geno Smith's throwing the football, you don't see the football in the highlight. You know what I mean? It's just too quick. It's too much velocity on the ball. You can see Bo Nix's pass like floating like a balloon through the air, and you're just asking for trouble, man. So I don't know.
Defenders can definitely see it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something that Sean Payton can figure out. If Bo Nix, I don't know a lot about Bo Nix. Maybe he just doesn't have the velocity. I thought he was great in that Oregon system, man. But that's a really good system. So.
Well, we'll say the jury's out, but you had to bring up the Broncos, so I just thought I'd make up a bullshit or legit question on the fly there, and we'll see how he turns out.
Do you think they're legitimately that bad as they've been? Because they've been bad.
Man, Sean Payton is a good head coach. We saw this last year. They started out the season rough. Didn't they start out 0-4?
Yeah, and finished 8-6.
They gave up 63 points, 70 points.
They tied their record.
Points, and but then how'd they finish the season, Brandon?
They finished 8-6. They finished 8-6.
Well, 8-9 total for their record.
They finished 8-6 over the last 14 games, and they finished 1-3 over the last 4 after benching Russell Wilson. I believe if he had played, man, they would have been 9-5. Over their last.
That's kind of my point that I'll make with the Broncos. I could see them still being competitive, and maybe Bo Nix figures out this system, and Sean Payton figures out Bo Nix in a way to help him develop into the NFL. I would bet on that happening versus not.
As much as Sean Payton hates to do so, he's going to have to rely on his run.
Yeah, no, Sean Payton is going to figure it out with that team, but I don't think that makes them a playoff threat. I haven't thought that about that.
No.
6-7 wins max is what I thought of them throughout this whole offseason, to be honest. Bless you. Salute.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Sean Payton's a good head coach, but that team still, I mean, you give up what they gave up to get a guy like Russell Wilson and then cut him. Like, your team is going to deal with some deficiencies talent-wise.
And they traded value for the coach.
So, they've given up a lot to end up in this position. So that's still another year or two away in my mind. A team that was supposed to be their winning window is open now. And last year, the Jaguars, they're 0-2, man. They lost a tough one that I thought they were going to win to Miami. I picked them to beat Miami. They came out and had that game, and they just fucked it up like they did all of the end of last season. The entire second half of last season, they just gave away games that they should have won. And that's what they've done these first 2 games of the season. And we talked about this in this whole offseason, man. I kind of got distracted by some things, but I think this is a good team that is not well coached. So in that vein, okay, 0-2 Jaguars will fire Doug Peterson in time to save their season. Legit or bullshit?
I'm gonna say bullshit, man. I agree with you that if they fired Doug Peterson, they'd get better. I don't think they're gonna do it early enough to save their season.
That's why I asked the question that way, because it's important to make that distinction, because this team has the talent of a 10-win team, but there's something they're missing in terms of, I don't know, just their game planning, just their preparation.
Really
I mean,
quality skill players on offense, and they have one of the best damn defenders in the NFL, dude. Like, and I said during our division prediction show, guys, a couple weeks ago, this team's gonna come out flat on their face. They have Dustin. We talked about this all off season, and I've said this before. Pay attention to this. Focus on this. If you're an NFL fan, NFL is one of the only sports where if you end a season poorly or well, it tends to carry over early into your next season. Like you don't see that a lot in baseball or
yeah,
basketball. Football is like if a team is tearing it up when the season ends, they kind of they come in hot in the next season. And I expected this Jaguars team to pick up exactly where they left off. And they actually look worse than I thought, to be honest. And I
well,
think
like I said, they could have won both of
lose.
those games. They could
I
have won
think they
both.
lose to the Bills, man. And I think if we did the math on how many 0-3 teams make the playoffs, it's probably not good.
You want to play the guess what Trevor Lawrence's completion percentage is this season game?
Sure. I'll say
Let's hear it.
I'll say 61.
Drop 10 off of that.
That's rough, dude.
I expected better things
player.
from Trevor Lawrence this year.
Yeah,
Was that?
I think he's a good player. I think
Yeah,
I think Doug Peterson sucks. That's what I think, man.
well,
Hey,
Trevor
Dustin,
Lawrence has.
you've said it on the show. The players, like, look at the Bears and look at the Jaguars. You can see when players believe in something and play for it. They
Yeah.
don't buy it, man. They're not drinking the Kool-Aid over there. I really don't
I think
so.
if they fire Doug Peterson by week 6, which I think you suggested earlier today when we
week
talked,
6 is when I said, yeah.
I think that's early enough for them to still find their way. But I mean, if not, if they're 1-5, so we'll see. I'm not sure if they'll fire Doug Peterson at all. I thought they should have fired him last year. Instead, they let him scapegoat all his coordinators and kept him around. And I mean, you're seeing
Some
why.
quality coordinators too, man. Some guys that were not.
Their defensive coordinator now is pretty good too. I mean, they made some good hires. It's just Doug Peterson, I think, is the game is past him. The players, I don't know if they relate to him, and I don't know if what are you laughing at?
Oh, so just a side note, I was looking at box scores today, and because of the similarity or the sharing the same name, he now goes by Josh Hines Allen. Did you see that?
Yeah. It threw me off in Madden, bro. I was like, who's this guy?
I'm just picturing this guy at some juncture, like, God damn it! Every time somebody says my name, they're talking about a quarterback. Like, just frustrated, dude.
All right. Well, I think that's all of our AFC bullshit or legit statements for today. Let's look at the NFC. Let's start with a team that you seem to be happy is successful.
So we're throwing the Titans as bullshit or legitimately bad. That for sure.
I didn't think the Titans were worth talking about. Will Levis is going to get benched this season. He's not going to survive.
Who's their backup quarterback?
Fuck if I know, bro. I don't even know.
It went from Levis, Tannehill, Willis to just Levis. They really burned all their bridges over there.
I don't know who it is. I mean, it can't get much worse than Will Levis, to be honest. That team's got a solid defense, but I don't believe in them this year, and I didn't see them winning more than 5 games this year, and I don't think that's going to change. They're
No, let me
legitimately
say
a
this,
bad
guys.
team that's
For
in
those of us,
transition.
we don't hate anybody personally, but
I
the
hate Will
offensive
Levis.
the offensive line in Tennessee is pretty good. So Levis is really bad. I mean, really bad. Because he's getting time to throw. There's no doubt about it. The guy is getting the time to throw. And I think even if Jordan Love doesn't play, they still lose to the Packers.
Let's see here.
What
Pocket time.
watch Malik Willis play against the Titans. I'd love to see that actually.
Will Levis's pocket time is 2.5 seconds. I mean, that's about middle
Oh,
of the
that's
pack.
yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, he's been sacked 7 times, man.
Yeah, but against the
9
Bears, man,
knockdowns,
against the Bears, he took some of those sacks on his
7
own.
hurries. I mean, it's very similar to Caleb Williams, honestly, in terms of his stats. I don't know how great that offensive line is.
Some of the sacks he had against the Bears, though, he held the damn ball, bro.
Okay. All right, we got to get you keep bringing up teams I don't want to talk about. Are the Vikings a playoff contender? The Vikings are a playoff contender.
Yes,
Bullshit
yes,
or legit?
they're legit. Yeah,
They're legit.
I've said this before before the season started on this show, guys. I said at least 7 wins. I'm not gonna fold on that. I'm gonna stay strong. I'm gonna say they can
Okay, I
win
just
it.
said playoff contender. Are you answering? Playoff contender, legitimate playoff
Yes, they
contender.
are. I think they
Okay.
are. Now, if you're asking me, are they guaranteed the Vikings guaranteed the playoffs? I'm gonna say no. Are they going to be a team that's there at the end in the race for a wild card spot? Absolutely, 100%.
6 of 8 teams that went 2-0 last year made the playoffs. So the Vikings are in that group. So you got to start considering.
Well, real quick, I know you wouldn't want to dive too deep, guys, but every time somebody talks about this Vikings team, they talk about
You're a
Sam
deep
Darnold.
diver. You got your fucking gear on,
Why?
scuba
Why?
gear.
Like, we keep talking about Sam Darnold. I keep saying, who cares? Who cares? It doesn't fucking matter.
What doesn't
Kevin
matter?
O'Connell's the fact that Sam Darnold's their quarterback. Kevin O'Connell's a phenomenal coach, and their
He is.
defense has 11 sacks and 4 takeaways on the season. They're a good football team from top to bottom.
Now let me
And
say this.
I
Go
said
ahead.
this too, guys. Sam Darnold is one of the strongest arms in the NFL. Do you know how long the ball was to Justin Jefferson in the air? I'm talking about from when it left his hand to the time it
65
catch.
yards.
70. It was a 70-yard pass in the air. If that guy's throwing balls like that to Justin Jefferson, it's going to turn out well.
Okay. Well, let me just say this because I watched that game against the Niners, and the Niners repeatedly just shot themselves in the foot.
Fred Warner had such a good play in that
Fred
game.
Warner is the best linebacker in football. It's not close.
That strip was outrageous. That was some Tillman stuff.
Oh, dude, the pick he had and he had a pass defended that was amazing. I mean, he's all over the field. He's unbelievable. But and he kept them in that game. But Brock Purdy made some mistakes in that game. A lot of penalties. The turnovers were just ridiculous, man. And they still had a chance to win that game. So the Vikings, they got the win. They're 2-0. They beat the Giants and they beat a Niners team that really, I feel like, more lost that game than the Vikings won it. Now, again, they got the win, so that's good for them. They're atop the NFC North right now. But do I see that being the case in Week 10? No, I don't. But I am on board with you. Kevin O'Connell's a great offensive coach. He's going to get the most out of his quarterback no matter what. Brian Flores is a great defensive coach. He's going to get the most out of his defense. Coaching carries you, and they're solid in the trenches, so they'll be competitive all year. But
Yeah,
I don't know if they're going to.
Dallas Turner is better than I thought he would be early in the season, man.
Dallas Turner is a baller,
Freaking
man.
monster.
They got ballers on that team, so it'll be interesting to see, especially come division games in the NFC North and how those things start to shake out. But right now, you got to call them a playoff contender. That's legit.
Looks
again,
like Buck agrees with you, Dustin.
Yeah, we had that up there earlier. Yeah, the Chargers are a legit team. All right, so in the NFC South, that was a division where I didn't see. Let's see what Buck says here real quick. Fred Warner was drafted in the 5th round of the 2018 draft.
Crazy. It's crazy. Think about that, dude.
Whose actual pick was it San Fran used to get him? I'm pretty sure it was the Bears. Am I right, Buck? What was the trade that they did? But
yeah, for Trubisky? Or for, yeah.
Yeah, wasn't that? No, was it part of it?
Yep.
Yes. Now, just because we can also understand that just because Fred Warner was drafted there by the Niners doesn't mean the Bears would have used that pick to draft him. But,
But a 5th-round pick turning into who that guy
the
is.
best linebacker in football by far. I mean, I'm talking about, comparing him to Roquan. I think he's that much better than Roquan Smith.
Oh, he literally, a defensive player, single-handedly almost won a game for that dude.
Mm-hmm.
He got a pick, and that strip was outrageous, man.
Yeah. The NFC is interesting right now. The NFC South, especially.
I love the NFC this year, man.
They're a lot better than people expected going into the season. I think it's going to be more competitive than the AFC the way it's looking so far. But in the NFC South, we got 2-2-0 teams. That was a division I didn't see winning more than 30 games total. To be quite honest, I didn't see them winning more than 30 games total between all 4 of those teams. We got 2-2-0 teams. That's the Saints and the Bucks. So are we going to see 2 playoff teams out of the NFC South, a division that I didn't think would win 30 games total?
Dustin,
legit or bullshit?
I think we are, but I don't have one of the 2-0 teams being one of those teams. I do think the Falcons and Bucks can both make the playoffs. Now I'm going to say this though. I think there's a very high possibility that a team in that division wins 0 games. I think that Carolina Panther team does not win a game this year.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions, you bastard. Way to step on the segment.
Sorry. Step all over it. Dancing on your segment.
We're still working out the kinks here,
Yeah, I think the Bucks are legit for sure. And I thought that before the season started. I thought they were better than the Falcons. The Saints. I'm going to say it now, guys. I'm probably going to be heavily disagreed when people view this show. Buck, let us know what you think. I think the Saints are bullshit, man. I'm not buying it.
I got to disagree with you on that, man.
I know. Yeah, we do. We disagree. Let's hear it.
I mean, when you're talking about the amount of offense that they're putting up, that's something that is very.
We both said Kamara was going to snap this year. We both said that.
Yeah, no, I was very high on Kamara going into this year, but a big part of that, man, is their offensive coordinator that they hired out of San Francisco, Clint Kubiak. Guys, obviously the son of Gary Kubiak, who was a great offensive mind. I just picked up Carr too. Look at me and Buck are like simpatico with these fantasy teams, man. I picked up Carr before last Sunday. I picked him up Sunday morning before the games were played.
Oh, he gave us his bullshit or legit.
Saints are legit. And bullshit. I'm saying legit. Clint Kubiak was a huge hire for that team. As bad as I think of a head coach Dennis Allen is, Clint Kubiak could be the guy that takes over that job. Listen to this real quick. The 3 receivers that on that team, their top 3 receivers, all averaged 20 or more yards per catch last week. Derek Carr is throwing it 16 times a game. He's throwing for 250 yards. I mean, it's working what they're doing. And if they're establishing the run and then getting them on the play action, they're not doing anything in shotgun. They're establishing a power run game and then running their passing out of that. That just is proven to be successful in the NFL, man. And that defense is stout enough to keep up with that.
I was just going to say, who's the defensive? The defense in the Saints has always been good. Now, who's the defensive coordinator?
It's basically Dennis Allen, man.
Is it cool? Their defense is solid, man.
I mean, Dennis Allen is a defensive head coach.
I remember there's a statistic like Tom Brady in his last 6 years of his career did not beat the Saints, and he played them 4 times or something ridiculous.
Well, he played him more than 4 times in the last 6 years of his career.
Because he played him 4 times
in the same division as them.
And he didn't beat him.
Well, I'm going to say the Saints are legit, man. I think once we start seeing, again, it's going to come down to these divisional games. I want to see the Saints play the Falcons because I think the Saints are a better team than the Falcons.
Yes, that's the game in that division you're waiting for? I am dying for the first time the Saints play this Bucks team because that's going to be fun, dude.
This Bucks team is scrappy. We haven't talked about them yet. They're a playoff contender. I think that's legit. I wouldn't call bullshit on that. I had them tied with the Falcons for the division in that in our division prediction show. I had them both at 8 and 9. Like I said, I didn't think very highly of this division. I might have to rethink that.
The
But
Saints are
this Saints team is the most surprising team in the NFL to me so far, and
they're
I'm
about to
very
play
high.
the Eagles.
Yeah, and that's going to be a hell of a game. I don't know. It could be a high scoring game. Who knows? But it could also be a defensive game. It could turn into that. I'm excited to see if the Saints, the way they beat up on those Cowboys, man. They just got the lead and just never gave it up. And Buck saying here, 37% pass for that offense. Alvin Kamara is legit. The guy had 4 touchdowns this past week, man. So the Saints are working with something there. And if you start getting that Saints crowd, do you remember what an advantage that was for that team in the Superdome in New Orleans there? Or the Mercedes-Benz Dome, is it now? I don't know. I can't remember. But that
No,
home
they have
advantage is legit.
they sell out, man. I mean, they're
But when that crowd gets loud, it'll mess up your a visiting team. So
yeah. What the hell else do they have going on over there? Pelicans.
yeah, I think that's called the Smoothie King Center or some shit. We got so we talked about the NFC South. We already kind of brought up the Panthers. And let's just throw this out there because you already said it, and I was going to ask this question. Panthers don't win a game this season. Bullshit or legit?
Legit.
Legit. It's a legit possibility that the Panthers.
That's a bye week, bro.
For everyone, even the Bears.
Yeah, that's
Alvin Kamara is the answer to your last question. Gotcha, boss. Thank you, Buck.
That is a bad organization, and I was thinking about this, man. Think about how much draft capital that team's given up in the last few years.
You know what I keep thinking of?
They gave up Brian Burns because they knew they had nothing to use in the draft, man. I mean, they legitimately had, because that the time in which they gave up Burns didn't make sense. You hired a new coach, you signed a bunch of receivers, you have this young aspiring quarterback you took first overall. Now is not the time to give up your best defensive player. They know they're screwed in next year's draft if they don't make that trade, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, at least they'll have their first round pick this year. I think I'll just say this, man. Bryce Young was benched and he wasn't playing well, but for Dan Canales to pull the plug on this guy after two games is just kind of bullshit. I'll call that not legit. That's bullshit.
Feels like a save my job kind of move. Like, let me prove that I can.
Yeah, but wasn't his job to get the most out of Bryce Young? How do you know you're doing that after 2 weeks? Or it's impossible now after 2 weeks? Dave Canales is this fucking genius that's just sure that Bryce Young is not going to be it after 2 weeks?
Even if Dave Canales is a good coach, is Andy Dalton going to get you wins?
I don't know. You go back to Bryce Young now. You've made this decision? You've ruined it. You've ruined the relationship with Bryce Young. How do you put him back in there? I don't know, man. I don't know that I can't blame him for doing it. I guess I'm not in that building, but I just think that was way too early to pull the plug on Bryce Young. I expected him to get benched this season the way he was playing, but not after week 2, man.
I firmly believed Bryce Young was a player that should have sat on the bench to begin with, man. He should have never. He wasn't. Nobody in that draft, besides, well, we saw C.J. Stroud was, which I didn't think he was coming out of the draft. Nobody in that draft to me was a week 1 starter, man.
No. I mean, you're talking about quarterbacks.
Bryce Young was not a week 1 starter. Especially not with the lack of talent they had on that football team.
Yeah, and it's not much better this year. They're not a talented football team, and it's very possible they don't win a game this season. We got one more 2-0 team that I want to talk about, and then we actually got to get to this Bears Colts preview because we're 50 minutes in and we haven't even talked Bears yet. So let's move this along a little bit. Let's make this one quick. The Seahawks are a threat to win the NFC West. They're 2-0. Is that bullshit or legit, Brandon?
Bullshit. As a threat, as a wild card threat for sure. A division threat, no.
I think what's interesting about the Seahawks is that they just got a new head coach, 2 games as a head coach, Mike McDonald. They're 2-0, and they haven't even gotten close to figuring out who they are yet. New offensive coordinator, new everything. So that's compelling to me with this Seahawks.
And I'll say this, man. I don't know if you've seen the injury report that the Niners released this week, but I mean, they might as well just hang it up. They might as well just not show up.
Well, the
They
Rams injury report might be longer, so it's okay.
they now have George Kittle, Debo Samuel, and Christian McCaffrey out of their lineup. I don't know who the hell Purdy's going to throw the ball to, but
Puka Nacua, Cooper Cup.
yeah,
Nope.
this is going to be the battle of the backup at skill
Okay,
positions.
well, I mean, the Niners got a backup running back that's pretty damn good in Jordan Mason. I see the Niners winning that game. I see the Niners winning the NFC West. I call bullshit on the Seahawks being good enough to win the NFC West as well. Just thought it'd be fun to talk about. Why don't we roll into our Bears Colts previews unless you got anything else in terms of our bullshit or legit segment?
No, I'm done with that. Let's real quick talk about some Bears news, guys. Well, first off, you said Tevin Jenkins did practice today. That's
Kevin
good.
Jenkins practiced in full today. He was a DNP yesterday. Yeah.
While we're on the subject, what Tevin Jenkins said to the media is disheartening, man. It's infuriating to hear as a fan. And when Justin Fields called out his coaching staff and then doubled back, I was kind of mad because I thought the coaches were letting him down.
Yeah, he needed to call him out. I felt moment. I was more mad about him walking it back than him actually making the statement in the first place. Yeah, when that
Tevin
happened.
Jenkins said, "We are executing the plays that are called. We're not in control of play calling." That is false.
You texted me that. You texted us that, and my response was the offense. Well, what you texted was we're not in control of play calling, but or something like that. But we're not in control of protection, is what you
No,
texted. He said.
this is exact quote. We are executing. They asked him what's going on with protection so far this year, and he said the plays that are being called we're executing. We don't control the play calling. That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Well, they don't control the play calling, but they control whether or not they let the quarterback
You're
get
not
pummeled.
executing anything.
Yeah.
What the hell are you talking? Matter of fact, the players that I thought the Bears could hang their hat on this year are regressing. Darnell Wright and Tevin Jenkins look terrible.
Tevin Jenkins is the highest graded offensive lineman by PFF.
And I would imagine that comes from his run blocking more than his pass blocking. Because
he's a run blocker more than a pass blocker for sure. So, and I mean, the play calling is not skewing towards his strength. So maybe that's frustrating him. Maybe he doesn't feel like he's getting the opportunity enough.
But do you think that's the mentality of the offensive line? We are executing our jobs.
That better not fucking be, because they're not. Yeah, they're not.
It's insulting.
I understand what you're saying.
It's insulting to hear. We're watching it.
Imagine if you're Caleb Williams hearing that, bro. Imagine if you're Caleb Williams hearing that.
That's Caleb Williams said something else that I want to get into as well. So I guess we've kind of Tevin Jenkins is on some bullshit. Bullshit or legit, that's some bullshit. They're not executing. They're playing, they look awful.
Well, let's say it's a sprinkling of both, Brandon, because the play calling, and we went at it on our Monday show, the Hollis Hall Hangover, about this very thing. The play calling is not focusing on the strengths of this offensive line. It's not set up to help them win, and that needs to be better. So that's legit. I would say that's legit. Voicing that frustration in public is bullshit. You keep that shit in private, keep it in your locker room, fix it there, put some better product on the field.
If I'm a reporter, my follow-up question is, what's a stunt, Tevin Jenkins? And why is a 5-man rush so effective against 5 men?
Because one of them is getting bull rushed into the quarterback straight back, and that person is Coleman Shelton.
They cannot identify a stunt for the life of them, dude. I mean, I've watched this game now 3 times, this game against the Texans. Nobody plays well on that line. Nobody.
No. You're yeah.
The best grade on that Bears offensive line is still below almost every offensive lineman in the league.
We don't need to make excuses. Tevin Jenkins don't need to be making excuses. What he needs to be saying is, I need to be better. That's what this whole offensive line. That's what every player in the building.
I want.
Yes, from every player. We're going to fix the offensive line. Yeah. We got to fix this. We got to be better.
So I think Justin Fields and CJ, or not just Caleb Williams and CJ Stroud had a moment.
Freudian slip there, Brandon.
Yeah. After the game, they had a moment. I want to talk about this because we saw DJ Moore lay down on the sideline and yell something to Tyson Bagent. We still don't know what he said.
He walked by Bagent and said something. Yeah.
There's clearly frustration here, but
people. I want to say this because people keep attributing to DJ Moore that he said, "I need you, dog," or some shit like that. And I don't know what he said, but the way his mouth's moving, that's
No,
not what he
the
fucking.
words, and he actually came out today and said anything that you've read in the news, none of the things that you've read are correct.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but this is what. So there's a few things exchanged between Stroud and Williams, and Williams looks pretty kind of upset, but I'm sure it's because of the way the game went, so more so than because Stroud's kind of played the big brother role. He said you need to stop taking those hits. That's what CJ Stroud said. And I think what he's saying to him is like, get rid of the damn ball, man. When you're in trouble, don't try to get out of the pocket and make plays. Do it within your confines of your offense. Just get rid of the ball. Don't get hit. Save yourself. That's and Caleb's response was, "Yeah, I know, right?" Now, that is definitely a voice of frustration.
Well,
That
he just got sacked 9 times and he hasn't even walked off the fucking field yet. You should expect some frustration in him at that
I
point.
think that's a guy.
That's not his mentality today.
I don't think that's a guy though in that moment that's saying, "Yes, I should throw the ball away." I think that's a guy saying, "I should
I'm
be better.
fucked.
I should be better
Yeah.
protected."
No. Yeah. But again, and anyone would be frustrated in that moment. He hasn't even gotten to the locker room yet. Be too much to that, Brandon. And then did you see what CJ Stroud said that he wasn't? He's like, I wasn't trying to big bro Caleb Williams. You know,
Yeah,
I
because
was.
apparently Williams said something like, "I don't need his." This is I don't know. I haven't been
No,
able to
that was
find
not
this.
said. Don't
No,
come on.
have you seen this? It's been posted all over social media. I haven't been able to find this like a
Okay,
moment in
find
which
me an actual source that Caleb said some shit
yeah,
like
but
that.
he said
And
something like,
I'll acknowledge it.
I don't need his advice." That's what I'm like what I've read, but I haven't been able to
No,
find it.
that's I will guarantee you Caleb Williams has not said anything of that nature. I will
Yeah, I
guarantee.
don't think so either. Because every time I
Yeah.
see it, it's just on a meme
Yeah.
without any
So
kind of citation.
in terms of injuries, we got Tevin Jenkins participated today, right?
Yeah,
Keenan Allen still not participating. Blossom Game and Pickens are both going to miss this game. And I think Keenan Allen, I mean, unless Keenan Allen gets a practice in tomorrow, I'm not going to bet on him being in there on Sunday.
and
So
Kiran's still limited.
limited are Karan Amagaji, Andrew Billings still with the groin, Nate Davis, Rome. I mean, I think Walker and Sweat went today. If you listen to Stroud's interview, he said he told him several things that he didn't. I mean, Stroud, basically acknowledged that he has respect for Caleb. He thinks he's going to be a very good quarterback in this league.
It was a weird moment, though, Dustin. There was hot mics, and both players are kind of not telling the truth about what was said. I do think that. I think there's been some like, it's between me and him, but it's like, it's too late, bro.
CJ Stroud, I think, and he expressed this too. I was just trying to give him some advice, like how other cats gave me advice last year, and that helped me. And I was just trying to, pay that forward. And I mean, quarterbacks do that all the time. But if you're looking at CJ Stroud, he's in his second year, and Caleb's in his rookie year. Maybe Caleb's like, I don't know that you're the person to be giving me advice. But Caleb should be taking it from anybody, I think.
I don't believe there was any ill intentions. I do believe
no.
Because of the way that game went, Caleb just wants to get the hell away from him when he's talking to him. You can see that body language. Like he's just like, he's kind of like pulling away from him while Stroud keeps pulling him back, and he's kind of like shaking his head like, yeah, I get it.
Caleb wasn't ready to switch jerseys with somebody and take a fucking picture after that game.
No.
Let's just say that. So we touched on the injuries. I mean, the ones for the Colts that are huge, obviously, it's DeForest Buckner. He's that defense, so he's not going to be in this game. He's on injured reserve. That's a huge break for the Bears. Latu might not play. That's still up in the air from what I read. Their kicker came back today, Matt Gay. So I mean, like they're pretty healthy besides the injuries that we already knew about going into this. So. And I think most of the Bears limiteds will play. I'm concerned about Keenan Allen, so we'll see how that goes. We got Bears versus Colts this Sunday at noon in Indianapolis. I think it's kind of a huge game, and I kind of want to lay this out just to kind of set the tone for like what this game means to both of these teams. Teams that start the season 2-1. The Bears are 1-1, right? Winning this game makes them 2-1. Losing it makes them 1-2. Teams that start the season 2-1 make the playoffs 55% of the time. Teams that start the season 1-2, that drops down to 32% make the playoffs. 23% difference, guys, in terms of your
And what
playoff percentages.
do you have the numbers on an 0-3 team? Because that's what
I'm
the
about
Colts
to
are.
get there right now. So, but just to establish this, like the Bears are looking at a 55% chance of playoffs if they can pull this win off. 32 if they lose and go to 1-2. Now, if the Colts go to 0-3, their chances, going back all the way to 1970, are 14% that they will make the playoffs. Now, if they go to 1-2, they jump to that 32%. So they're playing for their playoff lives basically in this game. Not to say that it's impossible that they can go 0.
Percentage-wise, though, the Bears have more to lose. It's a
23%
22%.
difference.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean it's versus 20. Yeah, versus what 18%. Yeah, a bit of a difference there. Yeah, so I mean it's a lot on the line for both of these teams. A lot on the line, and I just want to make sure everybody understands that that's what's at stake for this game, and we're only in week 3. Like these games, they determine a lot for us. So going into this game, Brandon, what are you looking at from a defensive perspective for the Bears? What stands out to you? What are matchups you're looking at? What do you think is going to be important in this game for the Bears defensively to do?
I think Tarek Stevens is going to be important in this game because this Colts has all 3 receivers back. This is the first time that A.D. Mitchell, Josh Downs, and Michael Pittman will play
Thank you
together.
for being here, Buck, by the way. We appreciate the shit out of you. You're keeping it coming with the chats and here staying up late with us, man. We love you.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jalen Johnson's going to do his thing. I don't want to see 7 receptions for 97 yards and a half from Tyreek Stevenson. I want to see my biggest concern. So defensively, man, the Bears have their hands full. This is the best offensive line in football, maybe besides the Lions, probably second.
It's the best offensive line in football, man.
But if you look
This
at the
Colts
players across the
team.
board, they have potential Pro Bowls from left to right. I mean, this team between
Can
Braden
we go through the
Smith,
names? Because I got one that's
Braden
funny.
Smith, right tackle. Quentin Nelson's your left guard, I believe. Yeah.
Yep.
Joe Kelly is or Ryan Kelly. What's Joe
Ryan
Kelly?
Kelly's your center.
Ryan Kelly's your center, and Fries is your right guard. Who's
This is the guy. His name is Will Fries. I was just wondering if his middle name is Workfor.
Will Cook Fries.
Will work for Fries.
Oh.
And then their left tackle is Bernard Raymond, the guy who was in his third year. Who was
a high draft pick, I think, a year ago?
No, he's in his third year. He was drafted in the second or third round, I believe, but out of Central Michigan. But he's a big boy. That offensive line is the number 1 offensive line in the league right now, in my mind.
It's going to be tough to get pressure, and it's going to be even tougher because you have a guy who can extend plays playing quarterback. So the Bears are really going to have to win this game in the secondary. I believe that. I see the Bears still getting like 2 sacks maybe in this game, but I don't think they're going to be pressuring Richardson all day. So you're going to have to play coverage well in this game, guys. You got 3 quality receivers, and your defense is going to struggle to get to the quarterback. I believe that. So it's kind of a different dynamic than the last 2 games we've watched, guys, where we were worried about the pressure that our quarterback might receive. Now I'm very concerned about the pressure we might be able to apply.
Okay, and that's fair. I would say, in terms of that pressure, I think the Bears got to approach this from a contain perspective more so than a apply pressure perspective. I think and not just that, but maintaining your edges with your defensive ends, man, not getting beat to the edge, because the X factor in this game can and will be, if you let it happen, Anthony Richardson's legs. If you let him get off on the run, you're gonna have a hard time stopping this team consistently. Now, the secondary is going to be important, but I think the most important thing, because we just established that the biggest strength of this team and the only place that they are better than the Bears across their roster, in my mind, is offensive line. Their offensive line is the best in the league, in my mind, and that's their strength. So Jonathan Taylor is going to be the key to this game. If you let him get off, you're going to have a hard time winning. If you shut him down and make Anthony Richardson can end up giving you a couple turnovers. But if they establish the run on you, that's secondary.
Because Anthony Richardson just threw 3 interceptions and not even necessarily pressured just bad throws. So the secondary to me is going to be, can they take the ball away a few times? That makes the difference.
No,
I don't think you need Montez Sweat breathing down Richardson's throat to give us the ball. He's not proven to be in the NFL, guys, a good progressor, a good
let's talk.
reader.
Let's talk about Richardson's completion percentage for the season right now. It's 49%. That's atrocious. That is
Yeah.
really bad. He's thrown for 416 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He has big playability, man, that a lot of Bears fans, when I'm hearing this conversation happen throughout this week, man, a lot of Bears fans are really just assuming that the big play is not going to happen against this Bears defense and that we don't need to worry about Richardson. I'm worried about it. I'm worried about him throwing a 65-yard dart down the fucking field
I'm hearing a
and
lot of Bears
beating the
fans.
Bears defense deep. I'm worried about that. That if that happens twice in this game, that could turn the entire game.
I haven't really heard anybody. I've heard a lot of concern about his big game. I've heard a lot of Anthony Richardson compared to Justin Fields, who we know could throw a big pass and run. That's the comparison I'm hearing most for Anthony Richardson. And like you said, Dustin, he has what, 400 some yards passing. I would
416.
guarantee you, like half of that is from 2 plays. He threw like an 80-yard. He
It
threw
was
like
a 65-yard,
yeah,
65-yard pass to Pierce in that Texans game. He didn't really get much off in that Packers game. He was, pretty bad, honestly.
yeah. They
So
took the ball away.
yeah, well, here again, that we can say that it's going to come down to the secondary, but before it even gets to that point, man, you got to stop this run. If you don't stop the run on the Colts, I want to emphasize this. If Jonathan Taylor gets off, you're going to have a hard time beating the Colts
Well,
because that's where they want to beat you. That's where they
where.
want to beat you.
So that's what I want to talk about. Jonathan Taylor right now has 182 all-purpose yards through two games. That's a lot of yards, guys, and he's rushing the ball for 6.1 yards per carry. So you gotta concern yourself with Jonathan Taylor. 6.1 yards per carry has got to be top 10 in the league, I'm guessing. Jonathan Taylor looks like he's back to health. He was a monster 2 years ago, guys. If you remember, he had one of the best seasons a running back ever had in the NFL. That's the guy you've got to concern yourself with. I do believe firmly, Dustin, if you stop that from being a thing, Richardson's playing your game.
That's the key to the game. That's the key. If you make Richardson beat you with his arm, I like our chances. If you put them in a position where Richardson has to make consistent plays down the field and not just those big plays, make him earn it with short and intermediate passes to work down the field, you're going to win this game. But if you allow them to establish the run and you let up a big play or two, you're going to find yourself in a very close game at the end with a team that's at home, and it's anybody's game at that point. So I'm hearing a lot of predictions of like this is a get right game for the Bears. It's just as much of a fucking get right game for the Colts. The Bears offense has been atrocious. like that defense, we're looking at that defense like the Bears can get off on them, but like aren't the Colts defense looking at the Bears offense like we can get off on them, we can get right on them? So it works both ways, and the Colts are at home. I mean, I think the X factor of this game is Anthony Richardson's legs. You keep him in the pocket, you make him beat you with the throw, you're probably going to win. I got a couple matchups to watch. You got any of those
On the Bears defense?
Yeah, for the Bears defensively against that offense, yeah.
Yeah, Javon Dexter against Quentin Nelson is huge to me. If Javon Dexter can win that matchup,
I don't know that he
majority.
can.
No, he probably can't.
No, I don't know that he can.
'Cause
I
the
think that's why
receivers-
I include Billings in that. Billings and Dexter versus their interior offensive line. That I agree with you. That's a huge matchup. If the Bears can, beat them there, then they'll win this game. But if they're getting pushed around, now Jonathan Taylor's getting to the second level, and now the matchup becomes Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards versus Jonathan Taylor, and they got to gang tackle that guy. You can't have one person tackling him. You need gang tackles to take down Jonathan Taylor. It's going to take a lot of your attention.
My other matchup, man, is you've said it on Monday, man, these teams they're going to play, the Bears are going to consistently put their best receiver against Tyreek Stevenson. Tyreek
Pittman.
Stevenson and Michael Pittman is going to be a big matchup to watch in this game.
There's a huge size difference there in terms of height. And Pittman can get after the ball. Now, Pittman's had a slow start to the season. I know because I got him on one of my fantasy teams, and I'm not seeing much there. But that's a matchup I had written down here too, Brandon. Tyreek versus Pittman, because that's where the Colts are going to attack. They're going to try to get, like I said, everyone's looking at this. All these Bears fans are looking at this as a get-right game for the Bears. Colts fans are looking at this as a get-right game for the Colts, and the Colts are going to try to get Michael Pittman right by putting him on Tyree Stevenson, hoping he can win some jump balls against him and get some slants where he puts his big body in front of him. And it's going to be another tough matchup for Tyreek, man. I know you're saying you don't want to see what you're seeing in terms of the 7 catches for 72 yards and a touchdown in the first half. We might see that consistently throughout this season, and that does not mean that Tyree Stevenson is not doing his job. It just means that he has maybe the hardest job in football, man. And he's working hard at it. And as long as the Bears aren't giving anything else up anywhere else, I'm okay with that. You could see Michael Pittman go off in this game. And I wouldn't be shocked by that, but that doesn't mean that the Colts offense is going to be successful. It just means that that's the one place they are finding. If that's the only place they're finding success, the Bears are going to win this game.
My concern for those, man, like the 7 catches, 97 yards, my concern for that, and then it didn't prove to be true in Houston, but my concern is when you're able to do that as in the Colts offense, if you're able to exploit Stevenson, let's say for the first half, you're probably gonna have some success running the ball. And that's the Bears. That's the one thing the Bears just got to make sure this Colts team can't do.
I'll disagree with you there because I think the Bears, if the Bears are smart, they're thinking what I'm thinking. Is just come in, make the offense one-dimensional, make it to where Anthony Richardson is the guy that's going to decide the game for that offense. No matter if Tyree Stevenson is getting beat or not, you don't change your defense. You're gearing up to stop the run that entire game until they don't have an option to run anymore. That's it. I don't think the Bears should change their game.
This is going to be a tougher challenge than last week. Listen, guys. I'm no disrespect to Joe Mixon, but he's not John Taylor. It's not going to be the same thing. And to the Bears' benefit,
and the offensive line is better too.
Anthony Richardson's not C.J. Stroud. So if you stop the run, like you said, Dustin, if you make Richardson play from the pocket, I'm not, man. Richardson's a young guy. He hasn't played a lot of football. I really don't. I'm trying not to hate on this kid, but it's feeling awfully familiar, isn't it? I mean, like that completion percentage is terrible.
49% is bad. Now, I mean, we'll get to Caleb as well, but let's run through some Colts offensive stats real quick. 198 pass yards per game, 17th in the NFL. 122 rush yards, that's 15th in the NFL. Third down percentage is 36.8. That's 19th in the NFL. They're very average. Their total yards, 320 a game. Turnovers, they're -3. That's 28th. We can take the ball from this team. So they're -3 turnover differential.
That's huge against the Bears defense, because I'm guessing the Bears have a very high plus turnover differential start. Not this.
I think they're +3. I think they're +3, actually. I mean, Caleb Williams just threw 2 interceptions last week.
No, so I mean, you didn't going back to like 6 weeks into last year. I think they're like +18. So like,
I've been seeing those stats go around, man, and that's cool and all, but this is a different season. I don't carry those. Those aren't going to count for the record or for the stats this season.
I love units though, man. That finish strong. I love it. Like
no, for sure. But they need to continue to carry that into this season because that's where it counts. Points per game for the Colts, they're 18.5. That's 18th in the league. And time of possession, now this is where it's a killer for them. 19 minutes and 54 seconds a game is how long they control the ball. 32nd with a bullet in the NFL. So that's going to lend itself more to, if they're playing that type of game, Jonathan Taylor is not beating you. So that's another, positive that you can lean towards that Bears defense. the other matchup, one other matchup I wanted to mention, Montez Sweat's got 7 hurries this season, only 2 total tackles, no sacks. Guy makes $1.5 million a game. I need to see a sack from him. He's going up against Braden Smith most of the game this week, I would imagine. So he needs to hit that quarterback and put him on the ground. Maybe cause a fumble. Something. I want to see something from Sweat this week, man. It's time for him to put a sack on the board. We're paying him a lot of money to be that guy. I know he gets a lot of attention, but so does TJ Watt. So
quarterback.
Yeah, so does Myles Garrett. Like these defensive ends that are getting paid the way Montez Sweat is getting paid, they produce sacks because that's what you pay them for. And I want to see that.
How many sacks is that team, the Colts offensive line, allowed?
I think 3 on the season.
It's a tough player to sack, man.
He is, man. And like I just said, I think they need to focus on keeping him in the pocket. That's got to be their biggest focus. And then I think sacks will come from that. Because if he can't get outside, he can't beat you with his legs. He's not going to be comfortable in the pocket. Clearly, he's completing less than 50% of his fucking passes. Your focus needs to be to shut down Jonathan Taylor and keep Anthony Richardson in the pocket. And you're going to get some sacks, man, and you're going to get some turnovers, I think. Bucks back. Sweet. Anything else to add defensively for the Bears, man? I kind of went through everything I had.
No, just that I do see some turnovers in this game. I see the Bears. I was talking to a buddy who has Anthony Richardson on a fantasy team, and I said, this is probably not the week to start him.
I benched Richardson, not just because he's playing the Bears. I hate playing guys against my teams. I don't like that. I don't like rooting for a guy to do well.
He's a Patriots fan, and I told him,
yeah,
this is not the week to start Anthony Richardson.
But if he wasn't playing, if I wasn't a Bears fan, I would still bench Anthony Richardson for Derek Carr because Anthony Richardson, I mean, he can get you the rushing touchdown maybe, but how many interceptions is he going to throw? Like you said, I think 2 sounds about right. 2 sounds. So we'll see how that goes. Going into the Bears defense, I know there's been a lot of talk about how well they performed, and rightfully so. Just to kind of put it in perspective, in terms of their defense, they're 6th in points per game allowed, which is 18, which is like right what the Colts are averaging. So we should be able to stay in that area probably, huh? 8th in yards per game, 277 yards allowed per game. 8th. 11th in pass yards allowed, 169.5 a game.
I gotta believe if the Bears continued to allow 277 yards a game by the end of the season, that's first, without a doubt.
You got some really good, like I said, the Chargers are like their numbers they're allowing are pretty ridiculous right now. But 11th in pass yards at 169.5, that's 30 under what the Colts are averaging. So something's got to give there. 13th in rush yards allowed, 107.5. That's right around where the Colts are. Their offense is averaging 115 yards a game, right? And then they're 9th in sacks with 6. 9th in sacks, 8th in interceptions with 2. So, I mean, it's kind of middle of the pack throughout a lot of that.
I wonder where the Bears are at turnovers in general, though, because they've forced 2 fumbles they've recovered as well.
Like I said, I think they're plus 2 or 3 on the season in terms of turnover differential, which is, kind of middle of the road for them as well. And Buckley says he won't beat us with his arm. We got to be careful of his legs. That's exactly what we were saying, Buck. Make him a pocket passer, eliminate the run for him, and do everything you fucking can to eliminate the run for Jonathan Taylor. And you make this team one-dimensional, they're gonna have trouble moving the ball. That's what we know for sure, I think. So offensively for the Bears, they're going up against Gus Bradley, man. I think we got to start there. I think it all starts there because we've all talked about how every team is going to be blitzing the Bears. That's like the mantra right now, that the Texans showed a weakness and the Bears have been blitzed 24 times this season, and Caleb is very unsuccessful against the blitz thus far. Very, like, the most unsuccessful.
The Texans blitz 42% of the time, dude. That is unheard of.
Check this out. Just to put this in perspective, he was blitzed 12 times against the Texans, he was 3 for 12 for 15 yards. His passer rating was 4.9. 4.9 single digits. Like it's bad. So you know that it's out there. It's out there. That model's out there for teams to utilize to blitz. You blitz this Bears team and have success defensively. The thing about
I'm glad you said that, man. I'm glad you said it's out there, and I'm glad you
it
said
is.
Gus Bradley, because I was digging in a little bit to Gus Bradley.
He does not blitz. He does not blitz.
And I'm going to read something, man, that blew my mind. Maybe I'm thinking too much of this. When Gus Bradley was asked what happened with the Packers game, why the Colts weren't able to defeat a backup quarterback, he said, and I quote, "We just had lack of film on Malik Willis." That is the worst response I think a coach has ever given to a question in life, right? We just had lack of film on Malik Willis.
Let's talk about this. The
He's
Colts
an
are
idiot.
allowing 237 yards rushing per game.
Yeah, no, hold on. We'll get into that. But I want to talk about this. So, an established defensive coordinator in the NFL, long term, like 20-year tenure,
been a head coach, been done it all. Yeah.
Said we had lack of film on Malik Willis. Now, guys, I want to put this in perspective. The reason that a defensive coordinator has lack of film on a player is because he's never played. And if a quarterback's never played, your game plan should be pretty simple. Pressure the hell out of that guy, right? Like that should be your game plan.
I've known from my couch for the last 3 years watching Malik Willis at Liberty that he can't throw the fucking football. I've known that. Like I don't need tape. I don't need film. How do I know this? And Gus Bradley doesn't have a game.
What kind of response is that? What kind of scapegoat response?
Here's the reality. Here's the reality with Gus Bradley. He runs the most predictable defense in the NFL. It's a cover 3. It's an under for the defensive line. Like they're just gonna stand there in their zones. They rush 4. They do not blitz.
They're missing their best rusher.
He is the most poor in the NFL, I think, as the defensive coordinator position in adjusting out of his scheme. He has all this film right now on the Bears that shows if you get pressure on Caleb with the blitz, it's going to be successful. And everyone's saying, not everyone. Okay, I keep hearing that a lot of obviously the Colts are going to blitz. I don't know if I believe that. Just based on what Gus Bradley does, he doesn't change shit with his defense. He wants to run a cover 3. It's his scheme, and that's what it is. And they rarely blitz, and they rarely adjust out of that. I don't know that the Colts are – I don't know that Caleb's going to see a lot of blitzes in this game. What do you think?
I don't like anybody on that roster enough to get home on Caleb, man.
Okay.
That's where I think this offensive line is bad, and they're bad on the blitz specifically, but I don't love the players the Colts have at their disposal to blitz.
Well, EJ Speed, here. Kenny Moore is a hell of a blitzer out of the nickel. If they use him.
He's a Kyler Gordon kind of guy.
He's better than Kyler Gordon. I'm sorry. He's better than Kyler Gordon. He's better.
I see Caleb having time to throw in this game.
So you're saying that you don't see the blitz coming. They're going to try to get home with 4, and they're missing their best defensive pressure player.
I think as bad as Quentin Nelson is, if they try to blitz up the middle, they're not going to succeed. Now, you're right. Moore could come over on the edge. That's a possibility. That's where they'll get home. I don't think Quentin Nelson is the guy that gets exposed in this game. And that's
Quentin
really
Nelson.
Or I mean, Coleman Shelton. I don't see Coleman Shelton getting exposed in this game like he has the first 2 weeks. And that's where the Bears are their weakest.
Since you're talking about that, my player to watch for their defense, I mean, Kenny Moore is the best defensive player they have with DeForest Buckner.
Yeah, the tackle.
No, but Grover Stewart is the player to watch on this defense. If you're looking for a guy that can disrupt this game for the Bears offense and can step up for the Colts in the absence of DeForest Buckner, it's Grover Stewart. The guy stops the run really well. He's going to line up right over your center often. He's a fucking nose tackle. He's a big boy, and he moves really well. He's got great power rush. That's what he does. He bull rushes. He's not doing anything cute. He's just pushing his guy backwards, and oftentimes he's pushing him backwards into the play, man. So Grover Stewart versus Coleman Shelton is my matchup to watch in this game.
Hold on now. Hold on. You said he's really
You
good at
hold on.
stop. You said he's really good at stopping the run. That hasn't come to fruition so far in 2024.
As an individual player, he's really good at disrupting run plays. He is. Watch his film. That's not something I'm gonna even like debate about. He's good at it,
While
but
we're
it's a
on the
team.
subject,
There's
jump
11
into
players out there.
should we jump into where I think the Bears win this football game?
No, we're still on the defense here. So what do you mean? Like, I mean, let's. You think the Bears win this on offense?
I think the best matchup in this game is DeAndre Swift versus the entire Colts defense.
So, okay, there you go. Colts are allowing 237 rush yards per game. That's insane. That's 38 yards more than the next worst, who are the Carolina Panthers.
And I watched the Colts. Listen, guys, I haven't watched 2 full Colts games this year. I did watch a Colts podcast today while I was supposed to be working. I did watch a Colts podcast. And the gentleman who was hosting the podcast said it's not just because a lot of people are like, well, it's 2 weeks in, those numbers, 237 is a really high number. He basically said this team will be the worst rush defense in the league for the remainder of this season. They are just terrible. The offensive line basically creates parts the Red Sea, is what he's kind of telling. Like, it's
okay,
this
but
is a game.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel that way too. Like, if you can't get DeAndre Swift established in this game, and you can't get your run game established in this game against this Colts defense that knew that the Packers were going to run, and they're allowing like 46 rush attempts per game, it's insane. Like, the stats are, if you can't establish Swift in the run game in this game, you're not going to do it all year.
Yeah, and you're right, Dustin.
That's how I feel.
You said to me in a text, and you're correct, that the Bears are not going to follow the same scheme or game plan as anybody else. But you've got to look at film, right? That's what these teams do. They look at film. So the Bears have been watching film of the Packers Colts for the last week. LaFleur did such a good job. He has Malik Willis. He's a young quarterback, an unproven guy, right? What do we have? And what do we have in our quarterback? An unproven guy, a young guy. LaFleur did such a good job at just running the ball down this team's throat and then only asking 14 passes, only asking Malik Willis to throw the ball in the best situation possible. It wasn't, I wouldn't even say when absolutely necessary. I would say when he felt comfortable with the pass, you know what I mean? When they were like 3rd and 4 and he felt like Malik Willis could throw a slant for 8 yards, like, he ran the ball down this team's throat and made it so that Willis was comfortable enough to make the throw when necessary.
That's for sure.
The Bears need to fucking do that, man.
Now, let me tell you what my concern is. The Bears are averaging 77 rush yards per game. DeAndre Swift is averaging under 2 yards per carry. And
77, really? That's higher than I thought.
That's awful. It's not good already.
I thought it was much lower than that, to be honest.
Okay, so like something's got to give in this matchup, and everyone in Chicago is kind of assuming that it's going to be the Colts run defense. I'm just painting the picture with Grover Stewart versus Coleman Shelton on that interior that can kind of show you how it would go the other way, bro.
Run up the middle, man. They don't run gut. They don't do I formation. They don't do any of that stuff. That's why the Bears are so damn predictable. They don't even try. They don't run the ball up the middle. They don't even.
Well, maybe it's because they can't push.
They get nothing. But Swift also just isn't that guy, man. Nor is Khalil Herbert.
Well, but they've been trying. There are plays where they've tried to push Swift up the middle, and it hasn't worked at all.
No, the
Bears are getting no push offensively.
The success they've had this year is on the outside, and I'm going to be honest, man. We watched the Bears every game last year. The success they had last year was on the outside. They're not a run up the middle football team. And it's not based on who's coaching it, Getzy or Waldron. It's based on their personnel. They don't run up the middle. They don't. You just say yourself. They don't have the people to run the ball up the middle.
Well, Khalil Herbert and Roshan are options for you in this game. I want to see Swift get off in this game. I really do. I think there's a reason he signed him. I mean, Khalil Herbert and Roshan Johnson were returning from this roster from last year, so the Bears weren't seeing enough from them in order to feel confident in those two being your lead backs going into the season. They obviously went for Swift for a reason, and I want to see him get off in this game. I'm just saying, like, you're looking at a Bears offense that hasn't established the run, and you're looking at a Colts defense that hasn't stopped the run. So who's going to win it? It's not just that cut and dry for me that the Bears are just going to get off. I think if you can't do it against this team, we got a big problem. But I'm not going to say that problem doesn't exist. There's a likelihood that problem exists for this Bears team.
I don't think it's, man, what bothers me the most is I don't even know if it's can they establish the run? It's will they try? Because they haven't done it yet.
Yeah, if they don't try this week, then we just know we got the
My concern is, does Shane Waldron even look at that as his biggest advantage in this game? That's my concern. Is Shane Waldron approaching this football game like, look at what this team's doing? We're gonna run the fucking ball like 55% of the time, or at least 60% of the time, because he's definitely not gonna go higher than that. We know that. Waldron's he tries to split it down the middle. Through his entire preseason, he split perfect 50% run pass through 4 games in the preseason, which is like, I mean, you're almost trying, right? Right? I mean,
yeah. And if the Bears can't make it work with their running backs, this is a game where I could see Caleb being able to run the football. And he's got to want to, because those lanes are going to be open. Those lanes are going to be open against this. Look, if you watched that game last week, Malik Willis had a lot of space to run.
No, he ran for like 43 yards. And I bet the over on Malik Willis's rushing yards, and it was like 38 and a half. And I was like, no doubt. Like, there's for sure.
Caleb has to be willing to run in this game to get first downs. Because that could be a huge advantage for this team on Sunday, I think.
I do want to say this, man. This is where I love the Bears as well. Like, if you can't establish the run, which they need to do and need to try, without DeForest Buckner. Now, you mentioned what's the tackle's name?
Grover Stewart.
Solid run defender, can get a little pressure for sure, but I don't think Caleb's going to be very pressured in this game.
He's not going to blitz. No, I don't care what's on film. The Colts are not going to blitz. That's not their defense.
And I don't now. And I've said this before, guys. I don't think Caleb is going to do this like 93 yards, 127 yards, or whatever he had last Sunday. Like, I don't think he's going to do this gradual thing. I really don't. I think there's going to be a game where Caleb gets the time to be the player he is and just explodes. Like, I could see like 270 yards in this game and a couple of touchdowns if this is the game that I'm talking about.
That's a fucking lofty projection for this offense.
I think there's going to be a game where he just lights somebody up, and you're like,
okay, since you're talking about this, let me go to some
stats.
Let's go over the stats, because right now Caleb is averaging 4 yards per attempt on the season. That's atrocious. That's just really bad. That's worse than Bryce Young, who was just benched. That's worse than Bryce Young, who was just benched. Let me get through it real quick. He's completing 56% of his passes. We just talked about Anthony Richardson at 49. Obviously, he's better than that, but he's worse than Bo Nix, Jacoby Brissett, and Deshaun Watson on completion percentage. All right. He's been sacked 9 times. He's been knocked down 6 times. He's been hurried 7 times. It's just, he's been blitzed 24 times in 2 games, man.
Dude, I'm going to be honest with you.
These are concerning stats. You gotta accept that. Dude. Those are concerning.
I don't care about the stats, but here's the thing, man.
You don't care about those stats?
Why not? And I'm going to be honest. I'm not trying to call you out right now. I'm not trying to call you out right now. I'm not trying to do. I'm saving receipts, but I'm not trying to call you out. I feel like I'm the only person that believes Caleb is the kid who I thought he was. It's going to come out. Like this.
No, I believe it too. It's just hard to predict it.
I don't believe it's going to be like, oh, he's 150 yards, 160 yards, 170 yards, 180. Like, he's just getting back. I think he's going to explode on somebody. That's what I think is going to happen. And I think it's going to be the minute you don't get pressure on him. Caleb Williams with time to throw is going to torch you. I still firmly believe that he's that player that's going to just light you on fire. And I think this Colts team, when it comes to pressure, because of the Buckner situation, especially, because I probably wouldn't say this ordinarily, man, but if Latu doesn't play, Buckner doesn't play, I just really see this being the game where he
There's
just
nobody to
finds
apply pressure, and if
because
they don't blitz, they're not going to get it.
and
Yeah,
I'm
for
going to tell
sure.
you this right now, man. I know Shane Waldron. It's only been 2 games, and I can say I know him enough. Malik Willis threw the ball 14 times. Caleb's not going to do that. Caleb's
No,
going
he's
to
going
throw
to
the
throw at
ball
least 20 times.
25 to 30 times.
He's going to throw at least 20 times. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is a game where he is the. I have no doubt, dude. The only problem. This is why I believe this, Dustin, because you're right. This is crazy. Like you're probably like, dude, based off what's going on with this
That's a
offense.
big jump from what
But
it has been
but
to that.
but
That's a big jump. You
but
got to acknowledge that.
what is Caleb Williams' problem this year?
What is his problem this year?
Like,
I mean, the problem is that,
why is he sucked?
well, because he's had way too much pressure in his face. He's rattled.
I think this game he does not, and I think
That's a decent expectation. I think
that's
I'll get on board with you there.
that's the only thing to me, man. Because a lot of Bears fans are so discouraged and they're just quitting. They're posting his stats compared to like this guy Fields or this guy, and I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to say to just tell these like all these people to post his stats. I just want to send these forums the next day like 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Like I'm thinking this is the game, and I think pressure is the only thing that I'm concerned about when it comes to Caleb Williams.
Okay.
Not the Bears
Well, let's
offense.
see.
The Bears, hold on. The Bears offense, sorry, I've been ranting, but the Bears offense has a
Yeah,
lot
a
of
little bit.
problems, man. Bears offense has a lot of problems starting with receivers and health already. Keenan Allen's not in the game. And protection. That's the Bears offense. A
Well,
lot
Keenan
of
Allen's
issues.
not been ruled out yet. Keenan
Yeah.
Allen's not been ruled out yet, but I
Top
don't
to
expect.
bottom, a lot of issues with this offense. With Caleb Williams himself, the player, my only concern is time to throw the damn ball. That's it. Man.
Yeah, for sure, and
You
that's
give
why.
him that, he's the guy.
And that's why going into this game, my bigger concern is not Keenan Allen. I mean, it's Tevin Jenkins, and the fact that he practiced today is huge because there's no replacement for him on this team. We don't have backups to put in. That's why there's probably not going to be any changes to this offensive line. This offensive line just needs to commit to running, man. And I think I think Caleb with his feet can be a weapon in this game. And one thing I want to see as well are some. If you watch that game last week against the Packers beat the Colts to the edge often. Every time they ran a reverse, every time they ran a trick play, a reverse, their receiver or their running back, whoever it was, got out to the edge and got a fucking first down. I want to see the Bears get creative, and I said this on Monday. I want to see the Bears get creative with how they get the ball into the hands of their playmakers, not just putting it on Caleb's drop back in a 5 or 7 step drop back and get the ball downfield, but get it to him earlier. The little quick handoff, little quick touch passes, just get the ball in DJ Moore's hands.
They
in
did
space.
it on the first drive of that game against the Texans, man. They did it. Like DJ Moore got 2 consecutive passes back to back. They were both like 7, 8 yard throws, and he took them for like 16 yards, man. Like that's what it's almost like
You got to
Shane
give him the
Waldron's.
ball in space,
It's
man.
almost like Shane Waldron's forgotten he's got some of the best yards after catch players on this fucking football team. You know what I mean? Like he really does. But I also want to say this, man, in regards to what I was talking about, like Caleb will succeed with no pressure. The expression this is the best fitting cliche I could say. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, right?
Yeah, sure.
So this offensive line is the broken clock that it is. They're going to play teams that just don't do a good job at getting to the quarterback, and they're going to look good. And I said, got the whole offseason, guys, and I didn't expect them to be the last offensive line last ranked elite team in the league, but I did say to you guys, when they get overwhelmed, they're going to fail. This is not a game in which I see them getting overwhelmed. So I stayed true to this is the game. I told you I bet the over on 207 for Caleb Williams. I think this is the game where he just balls, man. And I don't mean
Hey, I hope so.
350 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean the guy like finally finds a sense of comfort.
I mean, 200 yards would be good in this game and a touchdown. I'd be good with that because I think that's enough to beat this Colts team. I can see it happening because I think we've established that neither one of us thinks this Colts team is going to blitz enough to gain that advantage. Not saying they're not going to blitz at all, but they're just not a blitzing team.
42%, that's for damn sure.
What you practice against all week, in terms of modeling this Colts defense is what you're going to see on Sunday. So the Bears should be the most prepared they've been to attack a defense this whole season here coming up this Sunday.
Yeah, and dude, really good fucking insight on the Gus Bradley's cover 3 because there's a lot of Bears fans who just love, not so much football fans, Bears fans that just love watching the Bears that aren't gonna dive too deep into. Guys, that's a terrible scheme for this Bears team. Like that cover 3 is really bad.
It's going to be a terrible because, like you're saying, Caleb Williams, if he has time in the pocket, he's going to be able to pick apart that zone in the short to intermediate areas. Because that's a defense, just like the Bears defense, their corners stay on the same side. Nobody's going anywhere outside their zone, and they're trying to keep you from making big plays. So that's very similar to the Bears zone defense in that regard. So you can pick them apart across the middle if you have time.
And if Keenan Allen plays, guys, in any game, that's going to make a defense blitz less, for sure. That's one of the benefits of trade for Keenan Allen. If Keenan Allen's on your team, a defense is going to second guess blitzing because that guy is open early and often. Like he is one of the best receivers off the line to create separation. And if you blitz and you've got Keenan Allen, I would just look for him. If he's on the field and I'm Caleb Williams and I'm getting blitzed, I'm looking for Keenan Allen or Cole Kmet. That's what
one thing. Yeah, no, for sure. One thing I want to throw out since you're talking about that, man. Corners on the outside for the Colts, not the biggest fan of them. They got Jalen Jones and Flowers. Those are two guys that can be beat on the outside.
Do they really have a Jalen Jones?
Yeah, but it's not our Jalen Jones.
No, I'm just like that's just.
But yes, no, it's another Jalen Jones. I believe it's spelled the exact same way too. He's in his second year. He got drafted.
Position.
But my point is, I think it could be. You're saying you're predicting a breakout for Caleb. And I'm with that. I want to see it. Breakout for Rome in this game. Rome Odunze could get off on these guys. If Keenan Allen isn't playing, I mean, DJ Moore is going to be pretty much in the slot. That's a lot of him going up against Kenny Moore, I think. Rome Odunze can beat these corners on the outside. I could see a big day for Rome Odunze coming up. If you pair that with Caleb Williams having his first big day, that would feel really good for us Bears fans to have that and get a win on Sunday with that being the case.
Dude, I also want to say this. Caleb's and the offense has just been poorly planned, schemed, executed. They haven't adjusted at all. But the first game at home, I think he was like you saw him missing those throws against Tennessee. He was just so amped up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then the second game's away on a prime time game. Like I don't love that either. You know what I mean? Like that's like it's like but this game is
against a great defensive head coach in D'Amico Ryans. Yeah.
This game is away, so it's not in front of his home crowd. So these people, it's not going to be the pressure will be less always when you're not in front of your fans. And this game's at noon. So it's like this is also the perfect game to me where Caleb will feel the less amount of like.
And it's in Indianapolis. There's like no, you can drive by Indianapolis in 8 seconds and not even notice that.
You know what I mean? The hype level here, like the CJ Stroud Caleb showdown primetime in Houston, bad. The first game of the season, home crowd. You're the first time you ever played the NFL. You're pumped up. This game, I feel like will be the first time he feels kind of like he's back in college. You know what I mean?
All right. So we're predicting big games for Caleb and Rome. I like that. I want to see both of those players go off in this game.
Yeah.
One more stat that I have that I want to bring up here because it's important, I think, for this game and any game. The Bears are losing the first half so far, 33-13. They can't do that this Sunday. They cannot get down in this game. The big play threat is real from the Colts, and if they hit one or two of those and take a lead, and now you got your rookie quarterback playing from behind an offensive line that has question marks in a hostile environment. That's concerning. You can't be playing from behind. We have to establish the run and control the tempo. The Colts' time of possession, we talked about that, worse than the
Yeah,
league.
the
That's
Bears, man.
something you have to take advantage
Where are the
of in this
Bears,
game.
though? Second to last? Where are the Bears in time of possession?
I don't actually have that in front of me. I apologize. If you can find it, we can maybe grace the audience.
They've got to be, they're bottom 5, dude.
It's
They're
better
3 and
than the
out.
Colts.
They have
We know
12
that.
punts. They have 12 punts on the season, so they're definitely bottom 5 in time of possession.
I just want to make the point that if the Bears come out in the first half and end up down again, that's not a good sign. They got to win the first half in this game to win this game. In my mind, you can't keep losing the second half. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're on to predictions, man. We've covered everything. We got to go a little quicker in that bullshit or legit next time because we carried on a little late here.
Yeah, that's all right, man. I've enjoyed this show's been good, bro.
Buckley says, "Yo, bro, I'm with Brandon, but I'm a bump up in 297. He's going for 297 yards from Caleb Williams, I believe, is what he's referring to, right?
He's not incapable of it, Buck. We will see a 300-yard game from Caleb this year. So if it's against the Colts, so be it.
Here, a couple final notes, and I said it again, but I just want to say it again. The big play threat for the Colts is deadly, and it's real. You got to limit that. Yeah, I mean, it's not a given that you're
that kid Pierce.
Alec Pierce.
Yeah, keep an eye
play
on
that
him.
threat downfield. Yeah. If the Bears can't move the ball in this game, I don't know if we can be sure that they're ever going to be able to. This is a defense that we should be able to exploit, I think. I mean, it's again, something's got to give though, because the Bears offense and their offensive line has been really bad by all measurable statistics. And this Colts defense and defensive line has been just as bad on the opposite side. So who knuckles up and wins that fucking matchup in this game? That's going to decide this game, I think. The trenches and who's going to step up. The Colts are inferior to the Bears in every aspect of the game besides that offensive line, right? So that offensive line, they're going to lean on them to keep them in that game, establish the run.
2.5, right?
2.5 points.
The spread, Colts favored.
Last I saw it, I mean, I've seen it a couple different. I saw 1.5 Colts favored, but again, I made the note like the Bears. The perception on the Bears has changed drastically from these bettors because that was a game the Bears were favored in earlier in the season, earlier in the offseason. And that's what I'm saying. These stats are real stats, and they're not good. Nothing. You said it. Nothing is good about this Bears offense right now. Nothing is good. So I can't blame people for going against the Bears in this game. If I wasn't a Bears fan, I don't know that I would be picking them.
But let me ask you this.
But I've watched them play, and I know that they have all kinds of fucking grit, and they're tough as shit, and they're not going to quit. So that all rhymed. I did not mean to do that.
Do you think there's an ability or there's a chance that one of these guys, Steichen or Flus, out coaches the other?
Just don't ask us for the ingredients of the hot dog, Buck. I'm sorry, Brandon.
It's such a weird thing to say, bro. Like, it's lips and
He's
assholes.
probably stoned off his ass right now. I guarantee it.
We've all watched The Great Outdoors. It's lips and assholes.
Yeah, it's lips and assholes.
So, do you think that there's a bit of a chance that one of these guys completely outcoaches the other between Flus and Steichen?
Bro, I think Steichen is a better head coach than Matt Eberflus in terms of game planning. I think Matt Eberflus is a better coach than Steichen in terms of leadership, in terms of his guys wanting to leave it all on the field for him. And I think they're both horrible at in-game management, clock management, situational management. I think they both. I mean, that's a toss-up for me, bro. I guess. If you're talking about out coaching, like scheming wise, Steichen's got the upper hand there. But if you're talking about out coaching, like my team is gonna fucking outplay your team, I'll give Eberflus the edge there. It's a toss up for me, bro.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. The one thing that I love Shane Steichen, the one thing that I've seen from his management has just been
awful. It's god awful.
Yeah,
but we just saw Flus last week do the same shit.
That could separate him from the men, because to be honest with you, man, I didn't expect an 0-2 start by this Colts. This is another thing I feel good about, guys. I didn't expect an 0-2 start. I thought I had them finishing second in this division, and losing to the Packers with Malik Willis
That changes that.
was almost the equivalent of like if the Vikings beat the Texans this week. Like that's how big a deal that is to me. Like this Colts team was one game away from a playoff last year. I know they lost a quarterback in Gardner Minshew who's going to play within your system, and got a guy like Richardson who's going to take chances. But I still expected when I saw they were playing, they were going to be the team that plays Malik Willis. If anybody does, I was like, oh well, the Colts are going to at least the Packers are. I had the Packers win this division, and I thought to myself, well, that's doomed. That prediction is doomed because they're about to play the Colts without Jordan Love. The Colts lost this football game, man. Like that's a Shane
Yeah,
Steichen. That's a Shane. That's a Shane Steichen.
and I'll
And
tell you where,
then you have Gus Bradley saying we didn't have enough tape on Malik. Like what the what?
bro. Steichen went for it on 4th and 4 from midfield in a game that he was only down 10 in at the time in the third quarter. Jonathan Taylor dropped that pass from Anthony Richardson. The Colts turned the ball over, and the Packers got a field goal, went up 13-3, and that proved to be the difference in the game because the Colts had a chance to win that game at the end. All things considered, if you just punt, why would you not try to pin back Malik Willis, who showed you he's an awful quarterback?
Yeah, that's a bad head coaching decision, dude.
That was a bad decision, and it's probably what cost him that game. So he could do the same thing here against this Bears team and underestimate our defense, overestimate his offense. He is an offensive play caller, and that's what he puts his faith in. So that could end up biting him in the ass again.
On that call, when he went for it on 4th, and I'm not justifying it, he might have thought to himself, our team cannot stop running. It cannot stop anyone from running the football, bro. Like that dude, to me.
Yeah, for sure.
To me, the worst.
Obviously can't. Brandon,
two things.
93 rushing attempts against them in 2 fucking
That's
games.
Insane. And think about this, man. The 2 things to me that make you a bad football team in the NFL is protection and run defense. We talked about this last week, Dustin, on this Thursday show when we said how the Bears going to win games this year. It's run the fucking ball and get pressure, right? Because protection and run defense, protection on offense and run defense, if you don't have those 2 things, you are going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. And the Bears fortunately have a solid run defense because right now, if they didn't have a run defense, if the Bears were allowing people to run the ball down the throat, they'd probably be the worst team in the NFL because the protection is terrible.
Bro, we could go back and forth on this. There are things about the Colts that scare me in this game. There just are. Their offensive line being so damn good and having one of the best running backs in the league, that scares me. This Bears run defense is a strength. So it's like our strength against their strength.
Well,
their strength is really good. Whoever wins that matchup is going to go a long way in deciding this game, man.
And we didn't talk about this. I'm not going to spit out a statistic after 2 weeks because I'll be honest, I don't even know it. The Bears were a solid run defense last year as well as they are this year. I think they allowed running backs to like under 90 yards per game last season. They finished like first or second. I think they were first. But
they were for a good part of the season. I know that.
They were like 28th against pass catching running backs. So that's like that scares the crap out of me for sure.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor is not the great. I mean, he dropped a couple in that game last week. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, he also had
6.
He also had a few catches for sure. Yeah. So I'm saying like it's going to be up. That's going to come down to Edwards and Edmonds if they're going to stay on assignment.
And Brisker plays those really well.
Yeah, man. So I mean, again, there's so many little details and factors, and we don't have time to get into all of them. We're already at about 2 hours here, bro, on our late night show. But where do you see this game going, man? After we discussed all the matchups, all the keys to victory, all the X factors that could be in this game, all the putrid stats from our offense, and all the even worse stats from their defense. There's a lot at play here, man. And the fact that your playoff percentage is going to be determined in a large part by who wins this game on Sunday. It's a lot bigger than a week 3 game can be oftentimes. So
yeah, and I'm going to give you a score you wouldn't expect.
I want to hear it.
I'm gonna say the Bears win 27 to Colts 21.
Actually, that's very similar to where I'm at, bro. That's very similar. I got 28-24 Bears. I see Richardson being able to make
We
some
both
plays.
covered the spread.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, yeah, I mean, the Bears just winning outright covers the spread. I mean, the Colts are favored in this game, so yeah, if they win by one, they're good. But I'm just saying, like, I could see both of these offenses finding a way to score some points in this game. And I could see a couple big plays out of Anthony Richardson, leading to some quick scores. I just want the Bears to come out and establish themselves first in this game. Score on offense, take a lead into the second half. I want to see them protect Caleb Williams, man. And I think that that's going to be doable against this Gus Bradley defense, like we've hammered home throughout this entire podcast. 2 touchdowns from Caleb would be great, but I'll take 1 and 200 yards, and we get a couple rushing touchdowns, maybe a defensive touchdown, man. I want to see points put up in this game by this Bears team, and I just that Colts offensive line is too good for me to think that they're not going to be able to score some points in this game. That's really what it comes down to for me.
Yeah.
A lot of I've seen a lot of people pick.
And you know what, man? What's funny? It's like
it's a closer game than people think.
It's probably crazy to sit here and say, like, after CJ Stroud and that receiving corps scored what
19,
like.
And the Bears are averaging 18 points a game. The Colts are averaging 18 points a game.
Let me ask you this, man. We got 4 minutes. I'm going to ask you this.
We're going way over their average scores so far for the season. So
if a guy gets beat downfield on the Bears defense, who is it?
Brisker. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be Alec Pierce down the middle of the field, bro. If that's where it happens, or maybe Josh Downs gets involved in this offense this week, but it's going to be something where we're in cover 2. Our cornerbacks are not traveling with their receivers, and the safety's got to pick them up, and one of them gets beat. That's where I see that happening.
So you don't think Tyreek gets torched up a little bit?
Well, bro, it's hard. The Bears are rarely in man, offensive and defensive first half needs to be better. Yes, everything across the board, Buck. I agree with you. But the Bears are rarely in man. They're usually in that cover 2 where the corner is occupying a space there off the line, between and kind of in the flat. So they're rarely traveling with the receivers downfield, man. So they're going to try to make this a short passing game and then just be there to tackle. Like, that's what the Bears are going to do. But like I said, Anthony Richardson can heave that ball downfield, and they got Alec Pierce is a burner. So the potential exists there for some big plays, I think. And hopefully the Bears shut them all down, and hopefully we're wrong. Hopefully it's fucking 27-7 and the Bears just beat them up. But
I was so close to being like 31 to like 10. Because
bro, it's really hard for me to pick to just beat up on any team right now on the road.
No. And I'm saying, like, the Bears score, like, I don't know, 24 on offense. But I'm like, I agree with you. I think that the defense has a possibility of scoring in this game, man, for sure. Like,
yeah, for sure. But it's just, again, it's just hard for me seeing what I've seen these first 2 weeks. I have very little faith in this offense right now. As long as Tory Taylor's on this team, this defense might score points, man. You know what I mean? Like, this guy is going to put you within, like, the 9-yard line. Like, Tory Taylor has just been everything that he was drafted to be, man. And he's going to put you can expect that from a punter when you draft him, for sure. That's a surefire. Like, that's got to be one of the least variables in terms of drafting. If you ever draft a punter,
fail safe,
yeah.
Or most.
But I mean, what I believe is that the Bears can establish the run in this game, and that's what's going to lead to passing. And they'll actually need to do some play action. I want to see Caleb under center not just in shotgun the whole damn game. And I think that if they do those things, they can put up some points in this game. But I think the Colts will be right there with them. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. I think we're going to be on the edge of our seat for a lot of it.
What Buck just said Mitchell can get you as quick as Pierce. What's he? Is it Mitchell?
Adonai Mitchell, AD Mitchell, all day Mitchell, out of Texas.
Pierce. Yeah, Pierce.
Yeah, no, but see, the Colts got a decent receiving core, guys.
They
Like
have a great receiving core
we're talking
too.
about Downs, adding Downs to that. We'll see what happens here. But listen, man, this has been a lot of fun. We want to thank Buck for being here and showing love the entire damn time. What time is it? It's 1:30 in the morning, Buck. I mean, shit. Are you at 2:30 in the morning? You on that time change? I don't know if he is or not. Sometimes they are in that area of Indiana. But thank you for being here, bro. We appreciate you, Brandon. Great job as always, man. I think we broke this down as detailed as we could get, and really brought the energy today, man.
Yeah, for sure. I was a little less tired. Getting there now, but I was a little less tired. Yeah, no, it was fun, man. The show was good. Tomorrow, if you didn't, thank you to whoever watches this show tomorrow, because I understand everybody who's not here tonight. I really do.
Yeah.
But I do want to say this, man, real quick. Well, first off, guys, if you're in the Dundee area, give a
all right, Buck.
If you're in the Dundee area, stop by River Street, 102 North River Street, East Dundee. Kyle's obviously one of our 4 stars here, is a bartender there. Makes a good cocktail, good food, good specials. And then I want to thank, man, I want to say, give a shout out to Bruce Fam. Really, really active on our social medias, guys. Named him a moderator. He's been all over the place in regards to Facebook, even in the Instagram. I've seen some posts like he's.
I want one of those hot dogs, Buck. Damn it! It sounds good. Look at this: mustard, ketchup, and relish on Nathan's cheddar dog ×2.
Okay, yeah, I'm a mustard and onion guy when it comes to hot dogs.
Yeah, I don't really put the ketchup, but yeah, I feel you. But yeah, Bruce has been great, man. He supports us on everything. He shows up for everything we do, except for when it's at 11:30 at night.
Yeah, that's why I'm showing this out, because I hope that he comes back and watches the show. Bruce, we appreciate.
Oh, he's going to. He's gonna watch it. He's gonna share it. He's awesome.
Sean named him Scoreboard Bruce or something. Scoreboard Bruce. Which he was excited about. Like, he announced that's his title on the show. So, Scoreboard Bruce, we want to show you some love, appreciate you. But yeah, Ed, as always, and to those who might watch this,
Buck Nasty,
those who might watch this late night hour of Bare Minimum, appreciate you.
Hey, I'll tell you this: if it's just us and Buck Nasty, I'm good with it. We live a little far away from each other. We don't see each other often. It's good to share the thoughts and talk Bears, man, and NFL, and make time for that, man. This is we do this because it's fun for us too, So we appreciate everybody being here, but if we're doing it for one person and they're enjoying it, then I feel pretty fucking happy about that, because we're just 2 idiots talking.
Yeah, and we try to bring you guys perspective. Trying to bring a perspective that you just don't hear very often. You know what I mean? That's the whole point.
Bro, just think back in 2007, we were just doing this shit while we worked in a warehouse in Grace.
Yeah.
This is all we do anyways, So, I mean, if anybody listens in, we appreciate the hell out of that. If it's one person or if it's 100, it's all love, man. Well, on that note, guys, we're predicting a Bears win this week. We're predicting it to be a little high scoring. Hopefully this comes to fruition. We got a breakout game from Caleb, a breakout game from Roma Dunze, and we all get to be happy on Monday. And
a breakout game from Swift.
Hell yes, breakout game from Swift. Thank you. Let's see let's bring all 3 home this Sunday, guys. Hey man, love you, appreciate you. We'll see you guys next time. We'll be doing this every Thursday, the Bare Minimum. We're getting in order. We'll be a little tighter next time.
Real quick, guys, check me out, Bears on Brand. I have an Instagram going now. You'll start to see a lot of content on there. Obviously, the 2 of us can be found 4-Star Chicago Sports Monday night at 6:00 as well for the House Hall Hangover. And me and Dustin also do a show for Chicago Sports Podcast as well, Monday night at 9. He did a show late,
or 8:30.
Just I don't know. Look for it. Go to Chicago
subscribe
Sports
to
Podcast
both
YouTube page.
Buck, if you're not subscribed, man, subscribe to 4-Star Chicago Sports. You get notifications every time we're on, boss.
Hell yeah.
All right.
And
Hey.
Buck, we love you in our the Facebook group. Start posting that stuff. I see you pretty active in Chicago Sports Podcast. Buck, post that stuff.
On that note, it's time for bed. Good night, Chicago. We'll talk to you next time. Bear down.